Bienvenue à tous dans la suite donc de nos travaux avec l'acte 4 de Méditerranée du futur. Alors, on a beaucoup parlé.
Everybody for the continuation of this Act 4. So we were talking about vaccination. So, of course, will be of great interest to listen again to Stéphane Bourdon. I would like to remind you that the Moderna has applied for the approval of its vaccine. So Stéphane Bourdon, who is from Marseille.
Et on voudrait vous en passer donc les extraits.
Yesterday evening, we would like to show you some extracts. So the first question we asked him involved the deadlines, these deadlines that really gave rise to a lot of discussion on social networks because there are very short deadlines to produce the vaccine. But if we listen to Moderna, he said that the development of this vaccine wasn't as fast as that. Well, actually, our technology is a platform. So first of all, we have to invest so that the science functions, but the RNA messenger, which is a molecule that's situated between your DNA and the protein, is always the same thing. So molecular biology, everything is read with 4 letters. For digital sciences, everything is written with 2 letters, 1 and 0. So the genetic construction for a plant, a virus, a fish, or a human being is the same alphabet. So what's very difficult initially is to develop the technology that is able to create vaccines that work in mankind without any harmful side effects. So that took us 3 or 4 years to begin with. And then we started doing clinical trials with vaccines in December 2015. So about 5 years ago, we created 9 vaccines before the COVID. So when this new virus appeared at the beginning of the year, we had, within 48 hours, able to design the vaccine, just 48 hours. How? Because between the vaccination against Zika and COVID-19, the only difference is the order of the letters. So like the virus protein for Zika, we have the RNA messenger that codes for the Zika protein. So we inject our molecule in our arm, and it asks our body to create the protein against the virus protein. So we manufacture it by reading the alphabet provided by biology. We manufacture the virus protein. Then the immune system, the white cell, sees this protein that's not human and makes an antibody to protect you. So if afterwards you have a real infection of this virus, the antibodies neutralize it. It cannot replicate in your body, and therefore you do not declare the disease. That's what protects us. So in 48 hours, we were able to develop this. That's the main revolution of our technology. So we had, have actually been able to apply for the approval of our products, thanks to this. So the commercialization of this vaccine, does this mean that we can hope to have to be able to have a breath of fresh air in the future? So we asked Stéphane to tell us when he thinks we will be able to receive the vaccination and who will be able to receive it. Yes, I think that the vaccination is the light at the end of the tunnel. The only tools we have are masks. As it's a respiratory virus, what works best are masks, social distancing, hand washing, etc. Treatment has made quite a lot of progress for people who have contracted the virus. Antibodies are beginning to have an impact, and the steroids have helped. That's how we've managed to reduce the number of deaths significantly, which is very good news. But the only real weapon against this pandemic is a vaccination. With today our approval that has been requested, I hope that before Christmas, the vaccination will be approved in Europe, United States and other countries, Switzerland, etc. It will take a little bit of time across the world. So what I think is that the first quarter, we will first vaccinate elderly people, health professionals, people who have comorbidities such as diabetes, high blood pressure. And in the second quarter, we will vaccinate young people. I think in July and August, we will have enough, we will be able to vaccinate teenagers. So I think that by June, most adults who wish to be vaccinated should have been vaccinated. in summer, we will vaccinate the teenagers, and next semester, people will be going back to school normally. So the teachers would have been vaccinated in spring, teenagers over summer. So things will be a bit gradual during summer, but after summer, I think that we will be coming back to a normal world. We will be able to touch each other when we greet, and we will be protected. Everybody will be protected. So we want to follow this very closely. Of course, we saw there was negotiation with Europe. The orders have been put through, but what about countries around the Mediterranean? That's the other question we asked Stéphane Bonsen. Yeah, indeed. We have already got in touch and have contacts with a lot of countries across the world. And around the Mediterranean basin, there are countries such as Israel who have already signed for vaccinations with us. I'm lucky enough to have the Italian Prime Minister who called me back to ask for more vaccines. When the data was published 2 weeks ago, he called me immediately. And then there's an operation with COVAX that is organized by the WHO for countries across the world. And so we are finalizing our negotiations with them so that there is a reduced cost for emerging countries so that we can accelerate the use of the vaccination, because we've shown 100% protection against serious affections, 95% against COVID. So people who are vaccinated have 94% of having no symptoms if they do contract the infection. And in the 6% of cases where they do contract the infection, it will be very light symptoms with no hospitalization. So we have to think about the economic impact in addition to human impact. It will have a very strong impact. So I'm very optimistic now that by spring and no doubt this summer, we'll be back into a world that we lived in beforehand. So, as we've heard, Stéphane Bonsen is very optimistic, and I will let him close this interview with another positive note. And I think we already all need this positive outlook. All of the teams have worked very hard. We've been working 7 days a week around the clock to achieve this. We knew that every day counted, that it was the only chance to regain the world that we lived in beforehand. So now we see the light at the end of the tunnel. What we have to do is just remain disciplined, keep your masks on, but very soon we will be back to the world of before. Thank you very much, Stéphane Bonsen, Managing Director of Moderna. I put my mask back on because I've just been joined by President Muselier, President of the South region. President, we're at the closing of this session. I will pass you the floor. We've had a morning of very interesting discussions. In any case, what I know and what I've seen clearly is that you're a remarkable organizer, because the technical complexity between the different speakers, the international dimension, the European dimension, the Mediterranean basin, with the translations and bouncing off very different subjects to try and really get to the point so that everybody can follow properly. My respects to you, madam. You did a great job. I'm sure you'll be very tired afterwards. Yes. Yes, well, you still have an afternoon's proceeding. This afternoon, there will be some roundtables. And of course, we'll be hearing Professor Raoult on the plague, the evolution of pandemics organized by the University Hospital Center. And then there's the economic part, because in the previous session, we reinitiated the Club of Entrepreneurs, and it's actually the Bankers Club, so that we could have this business flow that allows us to encourage investors to turn in joint projects to the Mediterranean. And so we've established that opening. Yesterday evening, there were also the youth from the Mediterranean basin who belong to the Mediterranean Youth Parliament. They're very positive. They're very bright. And all of this is very constructive. I would like to close this morning's proceedings. I would like to pay homage to all of my teams, but the plateau is quite exceptional. When you look at all of the speakers we have here, we do have such a wealth of intellectual capacity, human capacity, and experience that is rare on this type of forum in a single day. It's the technology that is allowed to do us. So we can see the technicians who are jungling with the different interviews, the videos, etc. But the level is quite exceptional. And the interventions have been very respectful of very different opinions, different approaches. And everybody's energy is focused on finding a solution and generating hope. And we have this with Moderna, who explains this RNA. In a couple of words, he explains RNA. It's not DNA, so... And it's not, you know, how your other molecules work. So you have nothing to fear. And we've been testing RNA messenger therapy for a long time. Therefore, we have a solution that is there, present, for September. As we said, we've been in a very dark tunnel where it's been difficult to find our way around, but it does give us some light at the end of this tunnel. We have a capacity for intervention. The French regions have demonstrated this. I think that the fact that we're working closely with the governance and the different wallies through the Mediterranean shows that we have a real capacity to work together. So it was a great morning of proceedings with a lot of hope. And thank you very much for your talent. Thank you. And once again, as you said, the key word is hope. That's what we're all looking for. Hope that is based on things that have been verified, things that are clear. And this is what we've been trying to convey with our guests throughout this morning's proceedings. And since yesterday with all of the guests who were the territorial executives and today with the scientists, and we are going to complete this closing with two interventions that are in line with the rest of what we've done this morning. So all of these public characters throughout the world who are also placing their trust in this conference, the Mediterranean of the Future. We are currently having to work remotely, but the warmth is there anyway here in Marseille. So I'm going to invite you to listen to the testimony of the General Director of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, who is talking to us about the challenge that we're all facing today and the solidarity as the only means of reaching a successful outcome to the situation.
Your Serene Highness Prince Albert II, Sovereign Prince of Monaco, Your Excellency Jean-Yves Le Drian, the Minister of Europe and Foreign Affairs of France, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, and dear friends. It's an honor to address you today, and allow me to commend you on this conference and its clear message on cooperation and international solidarity. COVID-19 knows no borders. All of humanity has been affected by its impact on lives and livelihoods. As this pandemic has shown, strong actions are needed so that we're all better prepared for the next crisis. We face three major challenges. First, to be political leaders for global cooperation and solidarity by promoting health and urging your governments to invest in it. Second, to strengthen health systems and emergency preparedness. Strong and resilient health systems are not a cost. They are an investment in the future. And lastly, to allocate diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines equitably as global public goods, with priority for health workers, older people, and other at-risk groups. The fastest way to end the pandemic is by vaccinating some people in all countries rather than all people in some countries. I wish your entire region a speedy recovery from the effects of the virus. Working together in solidarity, we can build a healthier, safer world for all of us. Merci beaucoup. I thank you.
Merci donc au directeur général de l'Organisation mondiale de la santé pour ce témoignage. Et nous allons
to the General Director of Health. We are now going to listen to Prince Albert II, His Serene Highness, who is speaking to close this. So I'd like to insist on a very important point. And since this morning, this COVID crisis has been placing at peril the health of mankind and of the world.
Minister, President of the European Parliament, Madam European Commissioner for Health, General Secretary of the Union for the Mediterranean, President of the Région Sud region, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I'm delighted to be participating once again in these Mediterranean of the Future meeting, which you initiated, although the health situation means that we have to be present remotely. You have chosen to include this fourth edition in the framework of pandemics in the Mediterranean, solutions for coping with them, for avoiding them in the future. These are really important questions if we hope nationally and internationally to rise to the challenges of future decades, i.e. stemming the appearance of new infectious diseases that can become pandemics. The period that we're going through now is marked by COVID. There are devastating effects. They are sparing no regions in the world, not even the Mediterranean. Apart from the socio-economic impact, this health crisis is also challenging the multilateral system and the cooperation that it has taken us so many years to construct. However, although it's highlighting certain breaches in our system, COVID-19 is forcing us to find solutions. We have an opportunity, a unique opportunity to build things better and to make a clean break from past routine. The opportunity that we are being given today is to work together to construct a world that is safe, supportive and resilient for future generations, and we must grasp that opportunity. We must also believe more than ever in the importance of dialogue, international solidarity and partnerships to reinforce international cooperation that we have developed and to guarantee a sustainable future for all. Over recent years, the Mediterranean region has had to cope with all kinds of challenges. There's conflict, there's terrorism, and there's a lot of migration and environmental upheaval. And now, of course, we've got a pandemic that is growing into a social and economic crisis. The period we are going through just illustrates how important it is to protect the population's health, to study the causes of illnesses and how they are spread in order to have a concerted response. We have to rise to this challenge without forgetting other environmental issues. I'm thinking, for example, of global warming and loss of biodiversity. The Mediterranean region has been facing this for many years now. As you know, there's the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, the IPBES, published at the end of October 2020, a rather alarming report. It highlighted the link between emerging illnesses and the destruction of biodiversity. Approximately 60% of human infectious diseases come from animals. That has been proven. By destroying biodiversity, mankind is cutting off the branch on which it sits. When biodiversity is under threat, nature becomes a source of pathogenic agents and therefore of infection. It has to be noted that the epidemiological mechanisms at work when an infectious pathogenic agent moves from a wild source to a domestic animal and or a human, well, they speed up. Often, changes in land use is the cause. The health and the environment are closely linked. We therefore have to protect health and make it as important as we do in protecting biodiversity. We have to rise to both of those challenges, whilst reinforcing mechanisms for managing health. We also have to concentrate on prevention by protecting the environment, by being better we're prepared to the arrival of future pandemics by having a stronger health system and by improving our ability to cope with emergencies, then we will be able to protect ourselves. All of us can be a player in this evolution. However, only coordinated, inclusive action will help make this change happen. I am convinced that in the Mediterranean we have the resources to manage to get such a result. That is why I would like to commend the efforts by the international community to combat the pandemic, particularly those of the WHO. It is leading the way in terms of World Health, but also the work of all organizations, agencies and programs that are constantly working to highlight the state of the planet, to alert decision makers and to offer good practices to find the answers. I would wish you all fruitful exchanges, which will, I'm sure, heighten awareness and point towards new concrete solutions. Thank you very much for listening. President Muselier, you might like to add a couple of words. Yes, I would just like to commend the elegance of His Serene Highness Prince Albert II of Monaco and how efficient he is. He's so elegant because he pays tribute to the world and the WHO, but I would like to point out that this wonderful Principality of Monaco, which is perched between Italy and France, it has been seriously contaminated, and he's managed that situation so very well. And there are practically no deaths in Monaco, despite being so close to Italy and France. So it just shows that strategic political decisions can be effective for a population. Well, thank you very much. We are now at the end of our sequence, at the end of our morning. Thank you so very much, President Muselier. It's been a delight for me to be working alongside with you, and I would like to thank you and your teams, the regional teams, the technical teams, everyone behind the scene. But a lot remains to be done this afternoon.